The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
You're being held up. You're being hoisted by your own petard.
Yeah, that. Exactly that.
That's some big fancy phrase that I've heard that I'm not entirely certain I totally understand what it means, but
let's look it up.
Let's just throw it out there. I know some big words. I don't know the meaning, but I can say them.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, a proud member of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. My name is JD. Kyle, I think, has work, is why he's not here. But Matt's here.
Ciao.
So it's gonna be us two homeboys today. And we are talking about Pixar's latest movie, Luca. Just came out on Disney Plus. I have some conspiracy theories to throw around yet again on that, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think is a good way to start that off. I liked it.
It was very enjoyable. I mean, Pixar has a pretty good track record. They've not really put out many duds, like Cars 2, and then a lot of people seem to not like Good Dinosaur. I don't fall in that camp. But other than that, I would say like the majority of other Pixar movies people seem to really enjoy.
If I gave it some thought, I could think of another example. But this is like what I'd say Pixar's first cozy movie. Like, because literally it takes place in this little Italian town or the ocean water directly in front of it. So it's like there's not a lot of location hopping in this. And it's just like a fun little kids coming of age, growing up and experiencing the world kind of story. And it's kind of adorable.
I know there's always the joke about when Pixar movies come out, like what their inspiration for it was. And, with the, Inside Out, what if feelings had feelings? The Soul, what if souls had feelings? And now we get to Luca, which is what if Italians and sea monsters had feelings?
Italians have many feelings. Have you seen them talk?
They talk with their hands.
They do. Which this movie got down very well.
Yeah, I'd say they've captured a lot of like fun little I guess to call them like stereotypical mannerisms.
Look, man, you're supposed to hate him. And I do to a good extent, but I fucking love the way they animated the bully asshole in this movie. I love his...
Quille.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love his weird lips that are like sticking out of his face. I like that his arms are constantly flailing around when he talks.
Waluigi incarnate.
Pretty much. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as you're bringing up like it being like a very cozy movie, I mean, it definitely makes sense when you kind of look at the inspirations behind this. It was they did cite two specific Studio Ghibli movies by Miyazaki as being direct influences, being Ponyo and Kiki's Delivery Service.
I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then aside from that, also just being inspired by other Italian filmmakers. Well, not other Italian filmmakers like Federico Fellini and some others. But surprisingly, they also said like Aardman Animations and Wes Anderson's stop motion films were viewed as inspiration too. On the Aardman front, I can definitely kind of see the influence in kind of like, I don't know, the mouths, I guess.
So I want to give this movie credit because it definitely breaks out of the patented Pixar style.
Totally.
Like it does. Like it has. They finally decided like, oh, our movies don't all have to look the exact same. And this I like the character designs in this because they're a little more rounded off and kind of goofy looking.
Yeah, like if you'd shown me this movie and it hadn't told me that it was like a Pixar movie, or like a Disney thing, I just based on the style alone, like I wouldn't have immediately gone to them as being the studio that it's from.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean this movie is about a little sea monster boy named Luca, which I'm just now reading the Wikipedia page, and Melanie and I were trying to figure out like when, if stated, when this movie was supposed to take place.
It's like the 40s, 50s, right?
Wikipedia says 50s, 60s, which I guess makes sense because pretty much we were trying to figure it out because like nobody has like cell phones at all, but like they have Vespas.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out, and I had to look up when the Vespa was invented.
Yeah.
It was like right after World War II, I think.
I do love the emphasis on Vespas in this movie because I've always I think ever since like 2000, 2001 or whatever when FLC all came out, like
I was about to say, are you like everybody else who wanted a Vespa after seeing
Of course I am. Are you fucking crazy? Who wouldn't want a Vespa? Yeah, so just seeing it like so prevalent like in the plot and like just seeing like there's that whole sequence where Luca's like having the dream sequence and they're just talking about like wild Vespas and they're just driving through the meadows and like hopping around and stuff. It's really funny.
But yeah, so Luca lives in a society of sea monster people that live in the Italian Sea, the Mediterranean, I guess. And it starts out kind of Little Mermaid-ish, where it's like, oh well, you know, don't go towards the surface. You know, the humans are nothing but bad news, but you know, Luca's curiosity gets the best of him, and he's like, well, now I kind of want to see what's up there. And like, I'm bored of this undersea life. I need something new. And I was kind of like a little afraid, like how far Little Mermaid are we going to go here? But it kind of deviates off that path pretty fast.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's mostly just about like, I guess you could argue that Little Mermaid is kind of like a coming of age type thing too, but not necessarily in the same exact way. Just because, you know, this one's more directed against, you know, forging, you know, friendships and, you know, trying to, you know, adapt to other environments, which I guess is kind of,
Right.
Actually, not. I'm trying to. Am I actually going for or against my argument here? There's a more fantastical thing going on with Little Mermaid because of, you know, like the Ursula being a sea witch and like the whole stealing your voice and like, you know, turning the big monster at the end, and like Atlantis is like a whole thing with like, you know, undersea royalty and stuff. That's like a whole big thing in that movie.
No,
this one's like a more just sort of like, you know, it's just. They're just sea monsters. They live in the sea. They don't adapt to any sort of like hierarchical or whatever the fuck.
No, they just kind of live in their own little village or whatever down there.
Yeah, Luca and his family, they're just like they're sea farmers, I guess is the best way to put it, because
they have goat fish.
They have fish that are like goats or sheep that like literally Luca has like a cane to shepherd them around and stuff, and like it's just a very simple life, and he gets inadvertently dragged up onto the land and starts to discover, you know, how much different it is from what he was told it is, and it just, you know, the whole story goes from there. Yeah,
and he's kind of brought on land by this other fish boy he meets, Alberto. I'm not even gonna try to like make an Italian accent for this.
Alberto.
No. But yeah, I like that like Alberto is so far up his own ass in the sense that he thinks that because he lives on land, he is a human expert, and just like constantly hearing him like really trying to like scramble to like, oh yeah, I totally know all about that. It's this thing, and he's completely wrong. You know, and he kind of comes back to bite him in the ass later in the movie, but you know, I just like watching like these two kids in the fucking Italian countryside just like having fun. They fucking build their own Vespa out of junk and immediately drive it off a cliff.
Yeah, just
intentionally
constantly rebuilding it and just going off of cliffs and
so I just like it that, you know, Alberto obviously is he's like he's been alone for a while, so he like immediately attaches onto Luca. But Luca, you know, seeing as this cool I assume older kid who goes up to the surface regularly, lives up there, and knows all about this stuff. I like seeing their friendship dynamic develop over this, and I think it like worked really well. And then it was even made kind of better once they threw Juliana in the middle of the two.
Yeah, and she's like a really fun character too. I really enjoy her sort of just like rivalry with the Waluigi with Ercole.
She's gonna bring an end to his reign of terror.
Yeah, or your injustice or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, something like that. I do like that this movie does not have a lot of big name actors in this. There are a few, but not.
Yeah, there's like Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph. There you go.
And like Jim Gaffigan are like the two names I can really think of. I've heard it was Jacob Tremblay's name before. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen a movie. And what really caught me off guard when I saw his name in the credit, that Sacha Baron Cohen is the fucking uncle from the trench that comes up.
Oh, he only shows up for that one scene, but I really wish he would have shown up. Like he shows up there, and he shows up at the
the after credits.
Yeah, an after credits thing. I really wish we could have seen a bit more of him because he's hilarious.
Just like he's like talks and stops mid sentence, like, Luca, you have to punch his heart.
That was I wanted to bring. That was probably like my favorite line of the whole movie. Is just Luca, you're gonna have to punch him in the heart, like
to restart it.
Yeah,
I gotta punch him really hard.
Okay, I didn't realize that was Sacha Baron Cohen. That's great. That's perfect.
I just saw his name in the credits, like, oh shit, I didn't even know that. Like, obviously that man is a fucking chameleon, so
yeah, totally.
It's not surprising, but that was just funny that he's in there for a little bit.
Noted Pixar everywhere man John Ratzenberger is not in this though.
I know. I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was looking through the cast. I was like, where is he?
I think there's only one other Pixar movie he hasn't been in that I can't remember which one it is, unless I'm mistaken. And then this is either the first or second time he hasn't been in a Pixar movie.
Weird. He
must have been busy.
Yeah.
But I think the movie is pretty well off anyway.
Yeah. What I find interesting about this movie is directed by Enrico Casarosa. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know that name, and I didn't know it going into this movie. But if anyone has seen one of Pixar's older shorts called La Luna, it was about like the son, the father, and the grandfather who like go harvest stars off the moon. That was his short. And it's really cool to see that like La Luna was very like kind of like Italy inspired, kind of like in its just kind of the dress and all that, but to see him kind of develop his style into a full feature, I thought was kind of cool that they they got him into there to do that. Yeah,
and so that was the only other thing he had really directed before Luca, and that short it was nominated for Best Animated Short at the 84th Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, he got to start off in doing shows like PBJ Otter and the 101 Dalmatians cartoon, like from the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. He moved on to working for Blue Sky Studios after that, doing stuff like story artist on Ice Age and Robots. And then he joined Pixar in 2002, and he worked as a story artist on Cars 2, Ratatouille, Up, and Coco. And then, just like everyone else that works at Pixar, he served as a senior creative. He served on the senior creative team for a bunch of the other movies since like 2015.
Nice.
Yeah. It's cool to see that somebody with such a history with Pixar is finally able to get their own feature. It's always good to see.
Yeah, he kind of just. I assume he just kind of worked his way up the ladder, and I honestly like. I'm glad that they kind of gave this guy his own film to kind of explore his own, his own style and his own like way of storytelling. Because I mean, he is like from Italy, Italian, which even I think, if I remember it right, the town that Julia comes from is actually the director's home of Genoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she keeps it's like, oh yeah, my mom lives in Genoa and I have to go back there for school. And I just thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, he used his hometown for that location.
Yeah, and that's always the best case, like when you're making a movie set in a certain territory or, like a certain country or, state or anything, like to have somebody that natively comes from there and is able to bring all their own experiences and stories and, is able to, put them in there. And it just makes the movie seem a lot more genuine and a lot more better for it.
Yeah, and he said he based a lot of this movie on like his own childhood experiences just living in the Italian countryside. Apparently the Alberto in this movie is actually based off his childhood best friend, Alberto.
Oh wow, okay.
But yeah, apparently he just ran around these tiny little towns in when he was growing up in Italy. So he's just kind of pulling from that experience and adding a little bit of a fantastical element to it. But like you can definitely feel just from how Luca and Alberto like kind of take to this tiny small town and like just how they're just enjoying life kind of out on their own. Like I could definitely tell that this was like made by someone who held this kind of experience as a personal experience for them.
Yeah, definitely. And even just down to like, between the life that the sea monsters lead and then the life that the humans lead and stuff, like there's a lot of, parallels that can, be representative of, a lot of different sort of childhood experiences and stuff. I wanted to bring up Julia's dad. Did he remind you of a certain other animated character?
Maybe, but who are you thinking about?
I was thinking about he reminded me of Flint Lockwood's dad from Karate with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just with a lot more hair and with one less arm.
Yeah. Which I love the fucking joke about his arm is that like he like Luca and Alberto get tied up to like go out fishing with him in order to like hang out at his house since they're technically orphaned or they're runaways. But I like that like Alberto keeps staring at it and you think they're gonna have like a really serious moment because it's like a sea monster ate my arm off. He like gets all intense and yells at it and he starts laughing. It's like, nah, I was just born this way. It's how it came into the world.
Yeah, and like that's a really nice subversion because I'm assuming everyone like me thought that like, oh, the reason why he seems to be so adept at trying to hunt these things is because it must have taken his arm, and it's like just real like, nope, he just was born with one arm, and like, yep. So it's a nice little subversion, but it's also nice to just see like a character with a handicap like that featured so prominently in the main cast.
Yeah. And speaking of Julia's dad, he keeps making this fucking like pesto fucking pasta that looks fucking delicious.
Yeah.
In which I found absolutely hilarious the next day. If you go on Pixar's Facebook page, they actually have like an illustrated guide of Julia telling you how to make that pasta.
It's awesome.
So if you really want to make it yourself, which I kind of do.
I'm sure we'll be seeing an episode of Binging with Babish very soon where he makes that
probably. Sidebar, I just got into watching Binging with Babish, and it's like very, very therapeutic to watch.
Yeah, because it combines just like the aspect of just watching food, like watching videos about food being made, but also just the presentation of like the torso down, like showing the hands sort of thing, like. And especially just because he's just making a bunch of foods from media like cartoons and TV shows and movies and stuff.
I also like watching the basics videos that he makes because it's like, yeah, that's pretty easy. I'm never gonna make any of this.
But if you ever see yourself in that situation,
yeah. But no, I do like that he has like an entire catalog of just like, here's some basic ass food that like anybody can make, and then I like how he makes the basic version, and then he makes a really complicated version that no one's going to make.
But damn it, if it's entertaining and make you want to eat it.
I do not have time to case my own sausage, man.
You can watch Ordinary Sausage if you want to get your sausage fix.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
I don't have time to make my own noodles either. Fuck that.
Jeremy Snow here, owner and editor-in-chief of The Geekly Grind. I'm interrupting your awesome, regularly scheduled programming to ensure that you know about our Geekly Grind podcast network, of which this show is a treasured member of. If you haven't had a chance to check out our site, you can do so at www.thegeeklygrind.com, and while you're there, check out the other members of our steadily growing podcast family, including the anime-centric Blake and Spencer Get Jumped, discovering new heroes and comic book keepers with Chris and Lance, exploring the vast universe of geekdom with Geeksploration, or of course appreciating animation's finer details with the Ink and Paint Club. Escape your weekly grind at The Geekly Grind.
You brought it up a little bit as we started, but do we want to get in the whole Disney Plus thing?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I brought this up for Soul, but I'm doubling down on it now. I got a conspiracy theory, y'all. I have no proof to back this up, but I have a sneaking suspicion Disney has a bone to pick with Pixar. Because both Soul and Luca released straight to Disney Plus, no theatrical release. Soul was technically released in theaters overseas, but not in America. Luca, I think,
had a week-long engagement at the El Capitan here in California, I believe.
In one theater.
Yeah.
In the entire world. But otherwise is only available on Disney Plus. So two Pixar movies in a row, straight to Disney Plus. Also, no premium fee.
From like stuff like and I was going to say, because the only other stuff aside before that was all live action stuff, but it's like, no, fucking Raya and the Last Dragon had a premium like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Raya was on Disney Plus with the premium or in theaters. Cruella that just came out is like that. I think they had a couple more before that, like Mulan was like that last year. I will solidify this theory if next year, when Pixar's next movie comes out and we should be like pretty much past the pandemic stuff, if that goes straight to Disney Plus, I will seriously double down on this. Like,
triple down at that point.
Triple down, yeah, but like really solidify. Like, does Disney have something against Pixar right now where they just like are not releasing their stuff in theaters? Because I know that a lot of the artists who worked on Luca like were really upset about the decision. And like, I honestly don't understand why. Like, Soul, I kind of understand because like we're still...
Soul makes sense. Makes sense. It just on a number of factors. When you factor in that, yes, the COVID pandemic is still in full force. No theaters are open. There was some theaters open here and there. They didn't get a wide theatrical release. They wanted to have a big movie to put on Disney Plus for the holidays so that people will subscribe to Disney Plus to watch it. And what better way than to put a Pixar movie on there? For Luca, it's a little bit of a harder argument to make because it's June. And the only thing I can, stuff's starting to open back up. They could have easily done a theatrical release for this, but they decided to cancel it entirely. It screened in less theaters than Soul did. The only thing I can think of is that they're using the same logic of wanting a big summer movie for Disney Plus. So not necessarily a movie that you have to pay a premium to get, but one that you'll just pay the standard Disney Plus fee so that you'll be able to watch like, a big summer movie, like a Pixar movie, a Luca. I still don't think that there's necessarily a conspiracy about this. I can see why people would gravitate towards that. I feel like if we hit the third Pixar movie that goes to Disney Plus and doesn't have a theatrical release or anything like you said, if we get to that point, then yes, I'll absolutely hop on that train. I just think that it's due to poor circumstance and business dealings that's made that happen. It sucks that the team behind Luca is not going to be able to see their, aside from maybe like private screenings, at Disney or Pixar or whatever. But
one of my biggest contrary points to that is that Soul at least got a theatrical run overseas. It just wasn't here in America. which because our fucking COVID numbers were horrible back in December.
Yeah.
In the fall. But Luca, I'm pretty sure they made this decision pretty like a while back that Luca was skipping theaters entirely worldwide. I don't understand. Like, yes, I get it. Like, oh hey, the new Pixar movie is out. It's free on Disney Plus if you sign up. I could see that being an attractive offer for some people who don't already have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is that they're releasing the Pixar movies so far as free on Disney Plus. I don't understand why none of their own movies have done that. Whereas, is it like Disney overvaluing their own films? Like, oh, well, Pixar is their own thing. We can just release theirs for free. But ours, Disney proper movies, like those, you got to pay a little extra for.
Well, that's not even necessarily true either, because Black Widow is going to be coming out very soon, and that's going to be in theaters and have that premium on Disney Plus as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
and I'm assuming if they would have had any big Star Wars movie coming out or anything like that, it would be exactly the same.
exactly.
You have to remember that Pixar is just an arm of Disney. It's not Disney proper. It is just another arm of it, just like Marvel and Disney. No, Marvel and Star Wars and like National Geographic and everything.
The point I'm making is that I'm wondering if Disney is starting to see Pixar as a lesser branch of theirs. And I'm hoping this isn't a sign of that they're undervaluing them.
It would be very unwise on their part if that is what their thought process is, because I would say that a majority of people enjoy Pixar products more than, as far as just animation goes, I would say more people as a whole enjoy Pixar more than Disney.
Disney has been getting better the last couple of years. But like I think on the whole, Pixar is still has a better track record.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
because I mean, you take into consideration like what the most recent Disney animated movies that have come out is stuff like Frozen 2, Raya, Moana,
Wreck-It Ralph.
The Wreck-It Ralph sequel, that sort of stuff. And it's like, I mean, the Wreck-It Ralph sequel was, of course, panned everywhere by critics and audiences. I would say there's a pretty good reception to the other movies, but I mean, you didn't really hear much about them after the fact. I mean, was anyone really talking about Raya like that, that long after it was released?
Not really, no.
As far as Pixar movies tend to go, like, they tend to be a lot more beloved and have like their lasting fan bases. I mean, like you can't tell me that Luca's not going to have more of a lasting impression than some of the other more modern Disney releases. Right. And I don't want to single out anyone in particular. Like I said, I've enjoyed them just fine. And like you said, like, they've definitely been better about sort of diversifying like how they do their films and stuff, like as far as aesthetically, like with the characters and just like story content and stuff, like Frozen 2 and Raya, as far as injecting action into the movies or just having like more engaging plots for sure. Moana as well, that one's tend to skew more towards like a Disney musical type thing, but I don't know, it's very strange. I'm sure this will all start to come together more in the the year to come, like with other Pixar productions and that sort of thing. Like I said, we'll see, and of course you'll definitely hear it from us when when any of that news drops.
No, for sure, yeah. So I guess getting back to the actual movie,
yeah.
I do enjoy that this movie doesn't really have like a giant big bad guy, because I don't think it really needs it. I mean, the big asshole bully is about as close as we get to like a major antagonist for that, and he's kind of like a bumbling moron for most of it.
Yeah, I would, in comparison to other Pixar movies in recent memory, this one was definitely, and not to say that it didn't have an emotional impact in some areas, but like if you compare it to Pixar's last release, Soul, like that had a lot of like stuff like that inside of it. This was definitely a lot more lighthearted in comparison. without like a clear cut villain.
Yeah, and like I don't even think Soul has like a major villain, but like the stakes are a lot bigger. Versus this, it's like, I mean, obviously the townspeople kind of want to murder the sea people, but it's mostly the main conflict has like Luca doesn't want his parents to drag him back home and send him off to the trench, which I assume is just a metaphor of being sent off to boarding school or something.
Well, yeah, because that was the thing. I assumed that was going to play a larger part in the story later, like it would for other Pixar releases, where they teased the uncle, the anglerfish uncle, like, and sending Luca off for like what 1 or 2 seasons to live like in the deep ocean so that he couldn't go up to the surface. And like I was thinking like it was going to be a situation kind of like not necessarily like exactly the same, but something similar to kind of like like Bing Bong or something like an Inside Out, where it's just going to be like the deep recesses of the ocean instead of the deep recesses of the mind, and like you're gonna try to forget about him or something, or something, or like have Luca perceive it as that's what's to happen, or that sort of thing. The big like emotional thing that you get in here is like the revelation that the revelation that Alberto was he was abandoned and went a long time living on the island by himself before Luca came along, and it's just kind of like there's an emotional scene with that, which is a lot less heavy than some other climaxes in other Pixar films, but it's still not any less sad or like makes you feel anything.
Oh yeah, and like I mean, we have like one of the biggest conflicts in this movie is just that like Luca is being like taught new information about the world by Julia about like, oh, like those are actually stars in the skies, not fish, and all the like pretty much correcting Alberto on all the things he's told Luca about the world. And it's not like Luca has any kind of malice towards that. He's just like, oh, well, maybe we just had it wrong. Like Julia's telling me this is like what it actually is. But he's like wants to go to school. He wants to learn more about this world. Whereas like they had agreed that like they're going to win this race to get this prize money so they can, just kind of run away on a Vespa. And like that kind of breaks their friendship up for a while. And that's like the big conflict of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not like some big bad guy or some like monsters they gotta fight. It's literally like a friendship divide. And I like that at the end they kind of find a happy medium between those two, like the two desires of it.
Yeah, because I mean the movie ends with obviously spoilers. You've listened to this show, that we deal with that. Yeah, the movie ends with Luca going off with Julia to go to school and like leaving behind his family and Alberto and everyone, and it's like it's a little bit bittersweet in some way, like but Alberto is finally found people that he can rely on in Julia's dad and Luca's family and stuff, like.
Yeah, and I really like that Alberto and Julia's dad really bonded over the movie so much that like I love the fact that like they go back, the Julia and Luca after Alberto's ran away. He's like, there's like he's like asking where he is, and he's like, well, he left and he's probably not coming back, and he doesn't want anyone to look for him. And he immediately goes put on his coat and he's like, well, it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah, like,
it's like that's fucking sweet.
Yeah, no, he's a good dad.
Especially good dad. He basically he adopts a fish boy.
Yeah,
because he's good at fishing and like helping out, and he's like strong and stuff. So he bonds with this little fish boy and is like, you know what, you can just hang out with me. It's fine.
So while we're speaking on parent characters, I think some of my favorite bits in the movie where Luca's parents coming up on land and trying to look for Luca, and like they're basically just going around and bullying children, getting them wet. Like that whole scene of fucking Luca's mom like kicking the soccer ball at kids to like knock them into a fountain. It's like probably my favorite scene in the movie.
She enjoyed that a little too much. Look, I don't advocate for strangers abusing children in the square, but when
it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah, and I just like it that like Jim Gaffigan's character is like, no, I want to be able to handle this for once, like, you know, because you're always doing it, and then immediately backs down from that and is like, I don't got this. And she's like, well, it's okay, I got this. Just don't worry about it.
I've got to say, I because it was weird. When the movie was first revealed, like not the trailer necessarily, but like the images, the stills, and all that, because it looked so drastically different from a Pixar movie, which was both very cool, but also just very like I don't know. There's something about the style that in still images didn't it didn't read as well as when you actually see it like in animation and stuff. Because it looks a lot better in motion than in some still images and stuff. But as far as the character designs go, I really like the sea monsters. I think they're like really fun, and to see them, the ones that actually do go up and land, and to see them like transform every time like they're hit with like a piece of water and stuff. Like it's always one of those things where like when Pixar puts out a movie, it's them testing certain kind of technological breakthroughs they've had like in their animation software and that sort of thing. I guess this must have been the thing for this movie, was them being able to like turn one character into another character model, like that sort of thing, being able to transform certain bits of it, like here and there.
Yeah,
they do it a lot in the movie.
It almost made me wonder if they had like the two characters running simultaneously for those scenes that they need them to run for, and then like just kind of patching out pieces of one rig to the next and just having the other one like right underneath it.
I'm sure it's something similar to that.
It's probably way more complicated than I'm making it sound.
Without totally simplifying it, like it's probably something akin to that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't claim to know exactly how. I'm sure there's some behind the scenes animation stuff on how exactly they were able to accomplish all that stuff, but it looks great. It's very, very seamless because as far as the fish characters go, because they have like the scales and everything. So like seeing it like when you get hit with the water and like to see the scales like sort of like overlap each other like as they're turning into the monsters. Like it looks great.
And it's like I can't feel my tail. It's like, oh, it's Phantom Tail. Get used to it.
Yeah, that's like that's like one of the very first things that Alberto's like tells him, like,
don't worry about it.
That bit where like Luca's like is up on the rocks and is just flopping like a fish, like in human form. Like,
one of the last things I want to say here, and this is not something I say really ever, is I really enjoyed the credits of this movie.
Yeah, having like all the sort of like the notebook drawings, or just having like all the sort of like what happens after the movie's over.
Yeah, it's like the actual movie ends of just like Luca's on the train to go back to the town with Julia to go to school, and you're like, okay, that's a fine ending. You kind of get the gist of what's gonna happen. But no, for like the next 5 minutes of the trailer in the credits is just like these really adorable drawings of like, okay, here's Luca and Julia going to school. Here's what the mom looks like. And then it like cuts back to what Alberto and Julia's dad are doing. And like how Alberto's dad has made friends with Luca's family, and they all kind of like just hang out.
They all like keep in touch. They call each other on the phone. They send letters.
Yeah.
The bits with Luca like showing off he's a fish to like his classmates, like putting his hand like in a fish bowl or like that sort of thing. It's all pretty funny just to see like all the reactions from the other characters.
Yeah, it was just really cute. I liked how they showed that Julia's mom is a painter. And like it's just this really cute little epilogue in just like drawings rather than animation, but it's like this really cute style. And you just get to see all these like little activities that are happening after the movie ends. So it's definitely one of those movies that you want to stay and watch the credits, especially if you want to see more of the uncle, the deep sea uncle at the end, kind of blather on for a minute.
Yeah. I think one of the other aspects of the movie we kind of glossed over is the music. The music in this movie is great. Like just that Italian, like orchestral, like old 50s 60s style of music. Like just it's so good.
Yeah, and like all the actual songs are just like these old Italian songs. Like there's no like modern music in this.
Yeah, which is, if you would have seen the same movie from like DreamWorks or Sony or something, I'm sure they would have, shoehorned one in there somewhere. But no, this is very, I guess you would say period appropriate music, which is, it fits very well, and it's just very pleasant to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. Like, it just felt more authentic to the time period and to the setting that they were going for. I will say it bothered me a little bit that the kids kind of go in and out of having an Italian accent, and that I guess the fish people don't need to have one, but it kind of bothers me that a lot of the main characters don't try for the accent, but a lot of the background characters do.
Right. That is what it is.
It's like Julia's dad very much has an accent, but Julia really only has it when she's saying
Italian phrases,
which mostly involve exclaiming names of cheeses.
Right. Yeah. Was it Santa Mozzarella?
She always just Santa and then some kind of cheese.
And was it Luca and Alberto go around calling people idiota?
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, and just they just interject these little Italian phrases every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna get it, 100%, getting somebody to stay with, or getting the whole cast to, kind of play along with that. But
right.
The important thing is that some are, and it's it didn't take me out of the movie or anything. I'm willing to forgive, not at all. I'm willing to forgive the kid characters and any of the actual fish people not speaking that way.
Yeah, that is literally the smallest of nitpicks I can make about this movie. Honestly, it doesn't. I think it's about 2 hours long.
It's just an hour and a half.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah.
There's about 10 minutes of credits on Disney Plus.
Right. But yeah, this movie doesn't overstay its welcome. It is very, like I said, cozy. It's just a very light, fun movie about little kids, just basically little kids on summer vacation getting into mischief.
If you've got Disney Plus, you've already got access to it. It's not behind a paywall, so you don't have to worry about that.
I don't know if this is a movie I would say you definitely need to get Disney Plus to watch this, but it's if you already have it, then definitely watch it.
If you're a Pixar fan, then you've already seen it or you're planning on seeing it.
I'm about to say, if you're a Pixar fan, you have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because you're probably watching Toy Story for the 100th time.
They're the reason why we're probably going to get a Toy Story 5 at some point.
We're already getting a Buzz Lightyear origin movie.
Now, that one I am interested in see, because it's supposed to be the actual person that the toy is based on. I'm they could go anywhere with that.
I need to see more of that, but Chris Evans as the actual Buzz Lightyear has me slightly intrigued. But
yes, as long as they don't give that asshole Tim Allen any more work.
Oh, jeez. Well, guys, I think Matt and I both firmly approve of Luca. It is a delightful little film. You should definitely go watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that just about does it for this week. I hope everyone else is having a nice, warm summer. It has been storming off and on where I live. But, that's what you get for living in Ohio.
We got heat waves over here.
Aren't you just in a perpetual heat wave, though?
Yeah.
Well, I hope wherever you're listening from, it is much nicer than where either of us live. But let us know in the comments what you thought of Luca. We will catch you all again next week. But until then, stay safe.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening. You can find all the links to our social media pages in the episode description. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and join our Discord. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. The Ink and Paint Club is happy to be part of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network. We'll see you next time.